Welcome back to the Read Option Podcast. Today, we are talking about Aaron Donald's retirement. We'll talk about some of the leftover free agents around the league, and is Dan Marino really as good as we think he is? Enjoy.
Dalton steps up. It's complete. Remarkable.
Cut back outside right 30, 35, 40. Down the far sideline. He's still moving. He's going to go.
Pass is caught. Diggs. Sideline. Touchdown. Unbelievable.
Read Option Podcast, episode 5, coming at you hot. How was your day, Jack?
Not too bad. This weekend actually was pretty nice, unseasonably warm weather. Got to enjoy some time outside and play in the garden a little bit. So it's been pretty good.
Yeah. Today was pretty chilly. Not that great of weather outside, but the weekend definitely made up for it. Nice and warm all weekend. Got outside to smoke my tobacco pipe a little bit.
I was wondering where you were going with that one.
Smoke my pipe, my tobacco pipe. Gotta be careful with that because the first time I told my boss that I smoked a pipe, he thought I was smoking crack. But yeah, got some nice weather and made some coffee, drank some coffee, enjoyed the warmth finally.
Unfortunately, we're back to mid-March in the Hudson Valley type weather this week.
Yep, so it's back to cold and gross and unfun and ugly.
But at least it was on the weekend, so we got a chance to enjoy it.
Exactly. And you were out there building up a garden and hanging out and having fun too.
Absolutely. So. Outside with the pugs, enjoying a little bit of early spring weather, yes.
Yeah, early spring back into winter, and then we spring back into spring in a few weeks. Mm-hmm. So we're getting there. Eventually we'll maybe get outside for one of these podcasts here in the future. That'd be pretty fun.
That'd be a great idea.
All right, we're going to jump in. First segment of today is going to be the Coaches Challenge, as we usually do at the beginning of the episodes. Last week, Jack stated that Dan Reeves brought both the Giants and the Broncos to the Super Bowl. I'm throwing the challenge flag on that one in Bill Belichick fashion, kind of nonchalant, making a mockery out of it.
Yes.
In fact, Dan Reeves did not bring the Giants to the Super Bowl, but he brought the Falcons and the Broncos to the Super Bowl. So we're going to correct you on that.
He did, in fact, coach the Giants, but he'd never brought them to the Super Bowl. So
right. So you were close. You were close because he did coach the Giants. But unfortunately, we're going to have to overturn that play.
Yep. The ruling on the field is overturned.
We thought he caught it. We thought it was a little Des Bryant thing, but that one did not get overturned.
Yeah, that was still a catch, but we won't get into that.
No, we'll get into that on a different episode.
Sure.
All right. Aaron Donald. All right, let's back up. As Seattle fans, Aaron Donald is retired.
Oh,
let's freaking go.
We all rejoice.
Everybody rejoice.
Yes.
Everyone in the NFC West rejoices.
Probably no one more than Russell Wilson, even though he bailed on the NFC a couple years ago. So, so I think he was the most sacked quarterback by Aaron Donald.
Yeah,
out of any starters.
So one of our friends mentioned that he thought it was 17 sacks overall for Russell Wilson. Some of the other stats that we saw said 15, so we're not 100% sure exactly what that was, but Russell Wilson was sacked by far more than anyone else by Aaron Donald.
We just know that Aaron Donald tormented us for 10 years.
Yes,
so.
10 years. And the infamous Geno Smith, oh my God! Yeah. So that guy, look, props to Aaron Donald. Respect to Aaron Donald.
Absolutely.
One of the best ever. We'll probably bring up some of his stats here in a second. But my God, like, thank you for retiring. Thank you for not tormenting us anymore.
Goodness
Oh
gracious.
my gosh.
Yeah. So he was definitely in the top 5. And I guess unless there's some ultra qualifying metric, for example, Tom Brady, 7 Super Bowls, went to 10 of them. This guy, how do you argue that he is not the greatest quarterback of all time?
Yeah.
With defensive tackles, defensive players, maybe the metrics aren't quite 100% there. Like he's not, he didn't have 500 sacks as opposed to the next nearest guy, right?
Yeah.
So it's really hard to say if he's the best ever or who the absolute best ever was. but he's got to be in the top 5, maybe
Yeah,
top
I mean,
10. He was just an absolute game wrecker. It was just so solid, so consistent for so many years.
yeah. And you don't become one of the best of all time without those screenshots of him getting triple teamed, quadruple teamed. Like average players don't have those screenshots in their back pocket. Like he has those accolades where guys were literally triple teaming him every single play, every single down.
And what was hilarious was the clip that you showed me over the weekend from his days at Pitt, where
Against Duke.
Against Duke.
It was against Duke, yeah.
Okay, well, the quarterback was running a
Read option.
and so Donald decided to tackle both the quarterback and the running back at the same time.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
He wasn't going to take a chance who was getting the ball,
Yeah.
so he tackled them both at the same time.
Yeah.
That's just great.
Aaron Donald doesn't need help. Literally can tackle 2 people at the same time.
Yes.
Doesn't even need help.
Yes.
One of the craziest things that I saw about him come up on my feed was over the past 5 years, the NFL average pass rush win rate against a single pass blocker was 17% for a qualified rusher. So that's like an average pass rusher.
Okay.
Aaron Donald posted an 18% pass rush win rate against double teams in that span. So in the last 5 years, he is better at beating the double team
against 2
than
guys.
average guys are at beating one single person.
Oh my goodness.
How absurd is that? And that makes you, if I didn't have the clip on me to show you, those kind of stats kind of almost prove like, all right, I would believe it if you told me he tackled both the quarterback and the running back. So
it might have been you that showed me the still screenshot of Aaron Donald being four-pull teamed.
yes, quadruple.
Four blockers.
Yes,
four
four-pulled.
blockers, and like whatever the rest of the defense can just charge in there. But we are not letting Aaron Donald get the sack. We got 4/5 of our line.
Yeah.
Taking Aaron Donald.
I have more faith that Tua is going to get away from Ndamukong Suh than I have faith that he'll get away from Aaron Donald and not die.
Right.
So that's just pretty nuts.
That's great.
Yeah, just he's amazing.
So some of the stats, and I don't want to reiterate too much because we went over this when we discussed back when we compared Aaron Donald and Lawrence Taylor.
Sure.
But 6 out of 7 seasons, he had double-digit sacks, All-Pro first team 8 times, Pro Bowl 10 times.
6 out of 7 of what, the last 7 seasons?
6 out of 7
of the seasons in his career. Because he
Correct.
played 10 years.
Correct.
So
We were just doing a snippet of time.
Gotcha.
Correct. Defensive Player of the Year 3 times, Rookie of the Year, and also had 20.5 sacks in one season.
In a single season.
And so for an interior lineman, that's really amazing stats right there.
Those are amazing stats for a defensive end.
Yeah, that's somebody who is worthy of at least a top 10, if not a top 5 all time.
Yeah. What a beast. Yeah. Thank you for retiring. See you later.
Don't let the door hit you.
Exactly. We talked about free agents last week. It was way more hectic last week than it was this past week. So we're going to talk about some of the notable free agents that were signed over the course of the last week since free agency opened on Wednesday. But Monday, the tampering day, most of the signings, quote unquote, were already kind of put through. They weren't legitimate yet, but we already knew about them, so we were talking about them pretty early. Now that it's settled down a little bit.
Yeah, we're going into week 2 now.
Yeah, we're going into some of the lesser known guys or some of the guys that aren't going to make as big of an impact or aren't getting big deals.
Sure. Most of the big impact players have already been signed.
Yes. So Bobby Wagner, close, near and dear to our heart. Unfortunately,
Absolutely.
we've already seen him do it once. So the second time, it doesn't hurt any less.
No, it does
hurts
not.
just as much.
No, it does not hurt any less.
He's going to the Commanders. He even made a little tweet about it saying, like, we've done this before. I'll see you again someday.
But at least he didn't go to a division rival like the Rams, the first time.
Yeah, there was speculation he might go to the Niners. And I was like, oh, no,
brutal.
I definitely do not want that
been
happening.
Brutal.
Yeah, he went to in the past, year, a crappy team, but they look like they've put some decent pieces around themselves in the offseason, the Commanders. So they might be a better team this past year.
They're sitting pretty with, I believe, the number 2 draft pick.
Something like that. I think the number 2.
Yeah.
So they might be a better team this upcoming year than they were last year.
If their new quarterback, whoever they end up drafting, pans out, they have some weapons over there.
Yeah, definitely. Calvin Ridley to the Titans. This one is actually one of the bigger signings. $92 million 4-year contract to the Titans. Now you got D-Hop and Calvin Ridley over there. Now D-Hop's kind of on maybe the end of his career coming up soon, but he might still have it. Who knows? And that might give him potentially a little push in the right direction. Like, oh, I got a really good number 2 now. I'm gonna give everything I got left.
So also they have a quarterback that was a rookie last year, Will Levis. Looked okay. He had a couple real nice games. He had a couple not too good games,
yeah.
which you would expect from any rookie quarterback for the most part.
Sure.
Who's not named CJ Stroud apparently.
Yeah.
But $92 million.
I know.
4-year contract. Now, 3 years ago, before he got suspended, he put up a great season. 90 catches, I think it was 8 touchdowns, almost 1,400 yards. So he has the ability to be a bona fide stud.
Now Calvin Ridley's got the reputation to be to have that $92 million.
But last year, 76 catches, barely 1,000 yards. Okay. Maybe he was shaking some rust off, or maybe it took him a while to get in. But wow, $92 million for a wide receiver. That's not named Tyreek Hill is a lot of money.
Yeah, that's big bucks. Another wide receiver that we got that kind of shocked everybody, Keenan Allen to the Bears. What the hell is that about? Just came off one of his best seasons ever. And Justin Herbert now has like nobody to throw to.
Oh my gosh, he lost in the span of like 3 days. He lost Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Austin Eckler.
Yeah, like who is he throwing to?
Who's left
He's
over
gonna throw to
there?
Joe Alt on trick plays.
He's throwing to himself.
Yeah. So that's very surprising to me, especially because Keenan Allen, I think what happened was they didn't want to pay him because Keenan Allen was basically like, I just came off my best year. I'm not settling for a crappy contract.
And on top of that, I think he's 32 or 33.
Something like that. It might be 31.
He's one of those guys where you're just waiting for, the other side of the slope, and he just hasn't hit it yet.
No, he hasn't hit it.
He just keeps proving people wrong year after year with 90 or 100 catches, and this year
108.
Well over 100 catches and missed a game or two. So you're just waiting for that decline to start, and it hasn't. It hasn't yet.
I would have at least given him like a 1 or 2 year deal on the Chargers and said like, show me what you got left, because he hasn't slowed down yet.
Sure, and that's what it seems like. For the rest of his career, Bobby Wagner is destined to do, where nobody's going to invest more than a 1-year show me kind of thing, and he's just going to keep 160, 170 tackles. He showed clearly that he has lost a step or two in the coverage game, but he's still a run stuffer extraordinaire. 183 tackles last year.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that someone like Keenan Allen and Bobby Wagner, they're going to get a series of 1-year contracts for the rest of their career, I think.
Probably. And I don't know if they'll ever not overperform, because they don't slow down. It's
eventually old man time will
eventually they will. Yeah, eventually, but I don't know when. Craziest signing, I think, of the entire, craziest trade of the entire offseason so far, Justin Fields to the Steelers. They got him for a 6th round pick. How personally, fuck?
So this guy has never thrown for more than 2,600 yards in a season. However, he has not been blessed with a whole lot of good skill players around him. Number one, he has not been blessed with a whole lot of
good coaching
yeah. around him. And he is just an absolute force with his legs.
He ran for 1,100 yards one season.
Sure. So, okay, he's not your prototypical passer, and he's definitely not Lamar Jackson, but a 6th round pick?
I know.
For a guy that's 25, 26, however old he is, I'm just Wow.
Yeah, that's mind blowing. They stole him. They are truly the Steelers.
Oh, man. Well played.
So Van Jefferson, another guy that went to the Steelers, give a little bit of talent over there to Russell Wilson. In addition to George Pickens,
Sure.
he was solid, I believe, with the Rams. He was on the Rams for a few years.
Yeah,
there.
he's a
decent
third or fourth option.
Yeah. One of the weirdest signings that happened: Tyron Smith to the Jets for a lot of money, way too much money.
So he has been really good for a really long time, but at some point,
He's going to slow down.
age catches up to you. So
It hasn't yet.
not yet.
No, but definitely interesting to give a guy like that, probably closer to the end of his career, that much money.
Yeah, but let's face it, the Jets need to keep Aaron Rodgers upright.
Yes.
I think that is a huge key to their offense. Any quarterback,
Yeah.
obviously, but
And Aaron
Aaron
Rodgers, I don't
Rodgers-
think has ever had a bad offensive line. We've watched Green Bay games and we're going, this guy's still in the play 5 seconds in.
Yeah.
What the hell is he?
Yeah.
This guy's the best offensive lineman in the game.
Yeah, Green Bay protected him for years and years and years, and the Jets for the last, gosh, I can't even think of how many years, their offensive line has been terrible.
Yes.
So they really need to improve that if they want to keep, if they want to even think about this is what Aaron Rodgers can do for us.
100%. So we're going to jump into a little bit of Seahawks talk here.
Sure.
I know we don't necessarily want to make this a Seahawks podcast, but we do want to talk about some of the signings because they're our favorite team. We signed Rayshawn Jenkins for a pretty decent number, to be honest. We didn't overpay him by any means.
No, similar number is what they gave Julian Love last year.
Yep.
So okay, that I guess is the going rate for maybe a second or a third tier safety.
We basically swapped Jerome Baker and Jordan Brooks,
correct?
because Jordan Brooks went to the Dolphins and Jerome Baker came to us. I can't remember. Did they pay Brooks more than we're paying Jerome Baker?
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
Oh, yeah.
we might. I think Brooks might be a better linebacker, but we're paying less, so we'll see how it works out. And we have McDonald, who might be able to turn somebody like that into a stud.
That's what we're hoping.
Yep. Tyrell Dodson from the Bills signed with us as well. Seems like a kind of a small linebacker.
Yeah.
But I've heard he's a really good leader. So, and that's something that we need on the defense as a leader because
Especially
because
Bobby Wagner
Wagner's
walking
gone,
out the door,
and Jordan Brooks.
and Quandre Diggs.
Yes, exactly.
Was fairly vocal as a leader as well.
Yep. And one of our kind of new favorite trades, Sam Howell. We got Sam Howell on Seattle.
So Sam Howell, very interesting. I didn't know a whole lot about him until I did some research on him. He had what you would consider a rookie type season last year, even though it was his second year in the league. But Washington essentially thrust him into the starting role. And he threw for almost 4,000 yards and 21 touchdowns.
He led the league in yards at one point.
And he added 5 touchdowns on the ground. So he's not a Lamar Jackson dual threat, but his legs certainly give him that added benefit.
Yeah, and he kind of runs like Josh Allen, like a big brawler type of guy.
He's got
not really a Lamar Jackson.
I think he's
type.
listed as like 220, which is pretty good sized quarterback.
Yeah.
So the one knock on him was he turned the ball over quite a bit, which you would expect from somebody who was just getting their feet under them.
Yeah, and in a pretty crappy organization too.
So from what I understand, Bieniemy did not do him any favors. He was calling 40 or 50 passes a game. So just the volume there. And so I'm kind of interested to see what they're going to do with Howell because they seem to think he was a kind of a similar player to Drew Lock, but Lock going into his second contract is going to make obviously a lot more money than Howell.
Sure.
Howell's still stuck on his rookie contract.
And I don't think Locke ever put up numbers like Howell has put up because he put up pretty decent numbers.
And he
actually.
was a starter in Denver, I think, in the beginning of his
He
career.
was,
Drew
but I don't
Lock.
think he had all that great of a season. Not as good as Howell. Probably fewer turnovers if I had to guess. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but I would more than likely guess he didn't throw for 4,000 yards.
Probably not. So I'm intrigued by Howell. He fell to a fifth round pick from Washington, but his junior year was regarded as a potential first round draft pick.
Yeah.
He decided to come back for his last season at North Carolina. He had lost a lot of his skill players and essentially had to kind of shoulder the entire load by
do
himself.
it all himself.
And unfortunately really cost himself a lot of money and rounds in the draft.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But Schneider seems to think that he's a tough, gritty type of player, and
He's got potential.
Yeah, we could use somebody like that.
So let's run through a few more of the
Sure.
signings real quick. Curtis Samuel, 3-year, $30 million contract to the Bills. Meh, whatever.
Okay.
Shaq Barrett to the Dolphins. Kendall Fuller to the Dolphins. Jordan Poyer to the Dolphins. So last week we talked about how the Dolphins lost all their defensive players. And now this week we're talking about how they just signed all of their new defensive players back. And a lot of good defensive players too, because those are three solid key points on defense.
Oh, no doubt. They basically had to restructure and rebuild not their entire defense, but a lot of key components.
And they did a good job, apparently.
Yeah.
Hollywood Brown, Marquise Brown to the Chiefs. Puna Ford to the Chargers. That's a sad one because we wanted Puna Ford back in Seattle.
Puna was a fan favorite.
He was a fan favorite, and he was good too.
Yep.
Not so much a fan favorite in the sense of like a Jake Bobo, where he's fun to watch but doesn't really blow the game up too much.
Right.
Like Puna Ford could actually make some impact.
And Puna, what we've missed for quite a few years in the middle now is that beefy dude that you just needed four guys to move out of the way.
True.
And it's testimony to how bad our run defense has been.
This is true. Yeah, definitely lived up to his name, Puna. And then CJ Gardner-Johnson signed back with the Eagles after going on Twitter. No, it was a Twitch live stream where somebody donated $5 and said, "Hey, what's your least favorite thing about Philadelphia?" After he went to the Lions, and he went on a rant about how much he hated Philly and how the fans were such rude idiots. Yeah. And now he's back in Philly.
My bad.
Yeah.
So just a note, still unsigned, some big names that are unsigned. Justin Simmons, safety from the Broncos. Not only is he a Pro Bowl caliber type player, but regarded as a model citizen in the community. How would you not, and a leader on the field? How is this guy still not have a job? Chase Young, another edge rusher, Mike Williams, Jadeveon Clowney, Julian Blackmon, who I was kind of hoping Seattle would look at, but apparently
not sure.
Yeah. So our two guys, Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams, X Howard, Tre'Davious White, and Michael Thomas, all still looking for jobs.
Yeah, interesting. A few of those names definitely are kind of like, I kind of see why they don't have a job yet. But some of those guys is like, how has no one signed them?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Even for a 1 year show me kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly. So let's move on from free agents. Those are just some of the guys that have signed over the past week. We're going to talk about Bo Nix real quick because Bo Nix is one of those guys that seems to have upped his draft capital or draft stock rather over the course of the last few weeks between the combine and his pro day. He just had his pro day, and in my opinion, from what I saw, he looked pretty good at his pro day. Now, if you don't look good at your pro day, that's a really bad sign because you're in your home stadium and you're
no defenders.
You're super comfortable. You have no competition either because you're not throwing with 6 other QBs that are basically trying to take your job.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, so you're not watching Joe Milton throw 80 yards in the air and being like,
get anxious about it. Yeah.
Right. Yep.
So he did look very good, comfortable at your home facility. Doesn't always bode well. A guy like Roethlisberger, who was notoriously bad on the road, and he was just really good at home.
Yep.
That's not always a good thing, but, that doesn't mean that he's bad on the road. It's just that we saw better things out of him in his pro day than we did out of the combine. He didn't look super comfortable at the combine, but then again, nobody really looked great at the combine.
Correct.
He had some crazy stats in college, if we're being honest.
My gosh,
I did not realize. I didn't do enough research on him in the combine. When I looked at his stats when I was watching his pro day, I was like, holy crap. Now, he's not playing in the SEC against these massive defenses. He's not throwing for 60 touchdowns at LSU like Joe Burrow is.
Correct.
That's a guy where you're like, all right, he's going to be a stud in
He's
the
gotta
NFL. Like,
be.
there's no chance he's not going to be. But still, 4,500 yards, 45 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions, and he threw 77% completions.
That's crazy.
Holy crap.
And ran for another 6 touchdowns.
Damn.
So he had 51 total TDs on the season.
Now, it's just interesting because
putting up points.
he's almost 40 years old.
Him and Stetson Bennett.
They're combined 80 years old. But so that's one of the things that people are kind of concerned about is Bo Nix is a little older. He's played by far the most games out of anybody in college
correct.
history.
I think he had 6 seasons because he was a senior, and then he got the COVID year,
Extension,
I think, and then
yeah.
he got a super senior, and
I think
so
he played like 61 games.
61 games in his college
That's
career.
crazy.
Yes.
So, but Bo Nix, definitely somebody I would look out for, maybe to go to a team that really needs, like really hurting for a quarterback.
Somewhere down in the lower portion of maybe the first round or maybe mid-second round.
And some people are saying he's a perfect fit for Denver and Sean Payton. I don't know why. I didn't really do enough research as to why people were saying that. But who knows? Maybe we'll see a Bo Nix to Denver pick.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to move on from Bo Nix.
Well,
go ahead.
One other note, a guy that I've kind of had a man crush on for the past couple years, Brock Bowers from Georgia, did not participate in his pro day either. I think he'll have his own workout come mid-April, but that's something to kind of note.
A little concerning.
A little concerning because it's going on 3 months since he played his last game. Is this looking like a recurring injury or a chronic injury? They said it was his hamstring, but
That's a wild
3 months for a hamstring?
Unless he tore it or something.
yeah, I was a little concerned about that because I really wanted to see him at his pro day do a little workout.
Yeah.
But didn't even participate in that.
Yeah. Unfortunate because that's a guy that we wanted and potentially pick up in Seattle.
Yeah, I think he's a kind of a George Kittle clone.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on that?
Nope, that's gonna about do it for that.
All right. Moving on. We're gonna talk about. We're gonna do a little throwback. Okay. I didn't really get to watch him that much. Sean Alexander, potentially one of the most underrated running backs ever. There's debate whether or not he should be in the Hall of Fame. He had a 5-year stint where he just had some of the best stats of all time.
And that really was his downfall, was the longevity. He
Sure.
had 5 years that were absolutely just stellar by anybody's standards. But didn't last long enough to really make that Hall of Fame career.
Maybe if he had 2 or 3 more good years, he'd probably be like a first ballot Hall of Famer. But he's not in the Hall of Fame, and I don't know what's kind of preventing that, but
Probably just the
longevity.
Yep.
One of the things that was interesting to me, one of Sean Alexander's drawbacks is that he played with possibly one of the best offensive linemen ever, 2 of the best offensive linemen ever. And a lot of people say, well, yeah, he was good, but he wasn't as good as you think he was because Walter Jones existed, right? Walter Jones was quoted saying, "I think anyone could have done what Sean Alexander did behind our offensive line. All he had to do was make a linebacker or a safety miss. I would have loved to block for Lynch." Now, Lynch behind that line might have ran for 3,000 yards in the season. But what do you think, as somebody that watched Sean Alexander play? I only really got to see his highlights. The highlights are great. The highlights are amazing, but that's not the full picture.
So my thought is this. You had on that line, you had Walter Jones at left tackle, and you had Hutchinson at guard, and you also had a very underrated center. His name was Robbie Tobeck.
Okay.
So Robbie Tobeck, all 3 of those guys went to the Pro Bowl in 2005 when Alexander ran for 1,800 yards and 27 touchdowns, or whatever.
Yeah.
So you had 1, 2, 3 guys out of 5 go to the Pro Bowl that season. I don't know. I'm buying what Walter Jones is saying. Now, I watched Alexander run. I thought he was a hard runner. I thought he was a very good runner coming out of Alabama. Bama's almost like a running back factory.
Sure.
It's like saying, did Emmitt Smith, was he so great because his offensive line all went to the Hall of Fame? Well, certainly it helped. Absolutely. But Emmitt Smith was a great running back regardless of who you put in front of him. And Alexander, just because his career got cut short with injuries and stuff, and he didn't really get a chance to have that 10 or 12-year career that you would like for a running back to maybe go to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Walter Jones and Hutchinson were animals. Well, so let me tell you something about Walter Jones. Check this out. This is how great Walter Jones was. In 13 seasons, he was called for holding 9 times.
Yo.
9.
We have Seattle Seahawk offensive linemen in the past, even today, that have been called for holding 9 times in a game.
So also, more stats for you. In 5,703 pass attempts, he surrendered just 23 sacks.
Damn.
So the guy he was assigned to block for his whole career at a 5,700, only 23 times did they get to the. So he went to as many Pro Bowls as he had holding penalties for his career.
Oh my God.
That's
greatness.
Is insane.
Yeah.
So would Lynch run for 3,000 yards behind that line?
Samaje Perine could run for 3,000 yards behind that line.
I think I could bust one out for 1,000. So I don't necessarily disagree with Walter Jones on the one hand that almost anybody could have run behind that line. But I don't want to disparage Alexander because I think he was an excellent running back anyway.
Yeah.
And just because he ran behind that great offensive line doesn't detract anything from him.
Okay.
So
that's fair. Yeah. And again, not a guy that I got to watch a whole lot. That was, I mean, I played Madden as him because he was on the cover of Madden 07. But
Walter Jones?
No.
He should have been.
The Sean Alexander 27 touchdown
correct,
year
yes.
he was the Madden cover because he won MVP that year. Mm-hmm. One of the few running backs in my lifetime that has won an MVP because that's kind of a quarterback stat now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah,
you think about that. He ran for more touchdowns than most of the quarterbacks that season threw for touchdowns.
Yeah. And I think he might have had a few receiving touchdowns thrown in there.
Goodness.
Yeah, that was a special season.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the only guy that could take away from that was LaDainian Tomlinson, one of the best of all time.
Gosh, one of the best seasons I've ever seen.
Dude, yeah.
31 total touchdowns.
Yeah. Might have been more than that. But anyways, we're going to pivot here. Pivot, one of your favorite what is it? The corporate lingos that you love.
Oh
pivot.
Yeah. We're gonna
pivot here. so we're gonna do a new segment. It's gonna be called "What Are You Talking About?" Actually, sorry, I think it's called "Dude, What Are You Talking About?" So we're gonna basically go over some crazy stats that almost sound fake but are actually real. I'll start with mine. And I think this is kind of a recurring one because it comes up a lot. But this is still one of the most bonkers stats of all time. The 2010 Chargers had not only the number 1 defense, but the number 1 offense, and didn't even make the playoffs as a 9-7 team. They were 1 game away. If they would have won one more game, they would have beat the Chiefs for the tiebreaker, and they would have made the playoffs. The Chiefs ended up being 10-6, and the Chargers were 9-7, and they didn't even make the playoffs with the number 1 offense and number 1 defense. That's just bizarre.
Dude, what are you talking about?
So Phillip Rivers had 30 touchdowns and 4,700 yards. Sean Phillips on the defense had 11 sacks. They gave up 271 yards total per game, which was the first in the league. And what apparently happened was their special teams was so bad that they lost them 4 or 5 games.
4 or 5 games.
4 or 5 games.
Oh my gosh.
So week 1, the Chiefs had 160 punt return yards. Chargers had 166 for the whole season.
Oh my gosh, what?
Week 2, blocked punt. Week 3, touchdown return. Week 5, 2 blocked punts. Week 7, missed field goal. And week 8, a safety off of a blocked punt.
Oh my God.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks that the special teams lost them a game by 1 score.
Oh my.
And they ended up being 9-7, missed the playoffs by that much.
Gosh, dude.
With the best offense and the best defense in the league.
Oh my God.
What are you talking about?
That's
what I'm talking
about.
That's freaking nuts.
Okay, so my dude, what are you talking about, is not nearly as awesome and interesting a fact as that. But during combing the internet for some interesting facts,
Yep.
I stumbled upon some statistics from the 1985 Chicago Bears.
Oh, this has got to be good.
defense. So did you know that they
Who?
played the
Did I
Bears?
know what?
The Bears.
Oh, okay.
The Bears, the 85 Bears defense, played 3 playoff games. They played 2 playoff games and a Super Bowl. Do you know that they had as many takeaways as a defense as they let up points
Wait, in the playoffs?
in the playoffs?
Jeez.
They had 10 takeaways and let up 10 total points in 3 games.
In 3 games.
2 shutouts in a row. So they shut
oh
out.
my God.
Dude, what are you talking about?
Dude, what are you talking about?
So check out some of these stats, and I don't want to bore you with all this stuff, but
No, this is going to be good.
this is amazing. Points allowed, yards, rush yards, first downs, rushing TDs, interceptions, total takeaways. They ranked first in every one of them.
My God.
Yeah, they had 54 takeaways for the season,
Jesus.
not including playoffs.
Oh my God.
54. They had 34 interceptions and 20 fumble recoveries.
That's like 3 good seasons for some teams.
Oh my gosh, 54. So check this out. They let up 198 points total for the whole season.
Jeez.
So they led the league by 65 points to their next closest defense.
Yeah.
Their point differential was plus 258. It was 110 more than the next closest competitor. 64 total sacks, 34 interceptions, 2 shutouts. So they shut out the Giants with Phil Simms, who threw for 4,000 yards that year. They shut out the Rams. Dickerson ran for 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns that year. And then they beat the Patriots, and they let up 10 points in the Super Bowl. They also had 2 other shutouts during the season, and during a 7-game span, they let up 46 points in a 7-game span.
Oh my God. Dude, some teams let up 46 points in a game.
In a game, yes. So just from that defense alone, they had 3 Hall of Famers, and they should have a 4th, and I don't know why Mongo McMichael is not getting in there, but Dan Hampton, Richard Dent, and of course Mike Singletary, and Steve McMichael should be in there. I don't know why they're busting his chops, but amazing. So they let up in the 3 playoff games a total of 434 yards. In 3 playoff games. A total. All 3 added together.
Tom Brady threw for more than that in a Super Bowl.
In a Super Bowl. So I just, these what I'm looking at here was just mind-boggling. That I couldn't believe it when I just saw the giant list of the accomplishments. It was just, and that 46 defense was something that was so innovative, so creative. They were so fast and they were so physical that they dared you to get the ball off before 5 of them would get to your quarterback, before he could even drop back and set up for a pass.
Yep.
They dared you. And there was 10 guys coming and you couldn't block any of them.
And there's a reason why they are known as the best defense of all time.
Absolutely.
And like not even you can't even question.
Oh, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So, dude, now I know what you're talking about. Holy crap.
Dude, that's what I'm talking about.
That's crazy. we're gonna jump into something that's gonna be a little fun. I think we're doing a lot of throwbacks today.
Okay.
But I definitely want to get to this one because we've been pushing it off for a few weeks. Here's a question: if Dan Marino was at his prime in this current era of football, how good would he actually be? Now, I never got to watch Dan Marino. I wasn't even born yet. Was he really that good?
Oh, he was absolutely amazing. He absolutely was. I'm gonna give you a few key points to think about here. So number one, he played in an era before everybody was throwing for 4,000 yards. You know, there was 15 quarterback, half the league was throwing for 4,000 yards. He threw for 4,000 yards like 5 or 6, 7 times, something to that effect. And he also played he didn't play the West Coast style of offense. Like his shots were going downfield, why his interception rate was much higher. When you talk about people from different eras, I think sometimes the only way to really judge how that person would translate is what are they doing against their competition, against the guys that they're playing against. The stats for Marino were so far and above. Now, granted, he only went to one Super Bowl. He didn't win that Super Bowl. So I'm just talking as a physical specimen, as a player, what he brought. He was doing things that
nobody else was doing.
no quarterback was doing at that time with consistency. Sure, there were guys. I think Phil Simms threw for 4,000 yards every now and then. So you had Warren Moon back then that was throwing for 4,000 yards. But Dan Marino was just so far ahead of his time. And I'll throw a couple things out there for you, okay? To answer your question, he would be probably as good as Peyton Manning was. And I say that because very similar styles of play. Peyton Manning wasn't running anywhere.
No.
He was a statue back there.
Yeah.
He definitely I can't think of the word. He had a great line in front of him. Dan Marino had a great line in front of him. You just couldn't get to him.
Yeah.
Dan Marino wasn't moving anywhere, and neither was Peyton Manning. So I think that very just absolute lightning quick release. Oh my gosh, just so fast. So let me compare him to some of his contemporaries that he played against.
Sure.
So from 83 to 93,
yeah,
he had more than 6,000 yards more than the next guy. So over a 10-year span, he had 6,000. That's like 500 yards a season, averaging more than 500 yards a season. The next closest guy was John Elway. He also only played in half of 1983 and only 5 games in 1993. So you take out almost a year and a half, and he still beats everybody by 6,000 yards.
Jeez.
So fun fact, number 5 on that list of who had the most yards passing from 83 to 93, Dave Craig.
No, nice.
Yeah.
There you go.
Little shout
Just
out.
slinging it.
Shout out for the Seahawks.
Hell yeah.
So Elway came out the same year that Marino did out of college. For his career, 10,000 less yards. John Elway, regarded as, oh my gosh, one of the best quarterbacks ever.
Never threw for 4,000 yards.
Never threw for 4,000 yards, had 10,000 less yards. Mr. Marino had 20,000 more yards than Joe Montana for his career.
Oh my God.
And had 25,000 more yards than Jim Kelly, another one of his contemporaries.
Yeah.
So much like you and I talk about how great, how do we know how great Largent is? Well, 35 years after he retired, his name is still up in the top 20 for receptions. Well, Dan Marino is still number 8 for yards passed. And he also was the first guy to throw for, I think it was the
5,000.
5,000 yards. And he also threw for 48 touchdowns that year. And the closest guy, Dave Craig, only had like 32.
That's crazy.
So the stretch between him and all the rest of his contemporaries was so large. And I'm just talking yardage. I'm talking also
touchdown, 48 touchdowns.
48 touchdowns. So he would definitely stack up. And by the way, Duper and Clayton, I looked this up, they are not in the Hall of Fame. So he did not have Jerry Rice to
Yeah.
throw to.
Yep.
Okay. He did not have some of these other Andre Reed. Jim Kelly was throwing to Andre Reed. He's in the Hall of Fame. So Clayton and Duper were excellent receivers, no question about it. But they weren't all-time greats. He did things so far and above his peers that you just have to, and had a pretty long career. I think it was 15 years, something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, he reminds me probably most of Peyton Manning, where he could just pick you apart.
Yeah.
And he could go over the top. He could go underneath. He was smart at reading defenses. And don't forget, he played in an era when defenses were stacked.
Yeah.
And you could actually play defense without worrying about 15 flags getting called on you
True.
for holding and interference and
This
all
is
that.
true.
So I think Dan Marino, he was something special. And if he played in today's NFL, he would definitely be up in the leaderboard every year.
He'd be fine.
He would be fine.
Imagine Dan Marino on the Dolphins now.
Oh my gosh, with Tyreek
Tyreek
Hill
Hill,
and
Jalen
Jalen
Waddle.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, man.
And that was the other thing. Yes, did he throw more than his peers and his contemporaries? He did. But I mean, you can't fault him for coaching. Don Shula was his coach.
Yeah.
So he didn't really have that great of a running game. And so if you got a talent like Dan Marino, you might as well show him off. It's
You
kind of
might
like
as well throw.
Pat Mahomes.
Yep.
Let him run the game.
Yeah. Isaiah Pacheco isn't taking over the game.
Correct.
Freaking Pat Mahomes is your guy. You're going to let him
That's-
throw the ball and win you the game.
That's exactly right.
So, Dan Marino,
Yeah.
let's do a little questionnaire here.
Okay.
Marino or Josh Allen in today's NFL?
Josh Allen.
Marino or Joe Burrow?
In today's NFL? Marino.
Marino or Jalen Hurts?
Marino.
Marino or Pat Mahomes?
Well, Pat's going to be working on one for the thumb here in a couple of years, so I'm
This
going
is
to go
true.
Mahomes.
Yeah, it's hard to dispute that one.
Yeah,
That's really hard. That's tough.
So, as great as Dan Marino was, he was never able to win himself or his team a Super Bowl. And Pat Mahomes is, in my opinion, and I think probably your opinion, the only quarterback now that might. Tom Brady might be looking over his shoulder at the end of Mahomes' career.
This is true. Yeah.
Because Mahomes is doing things that are, again, above and beyond his contemporaries.
And he's learning how to play the salary cap game.
Yes, he is.
He's learning, and that's not good for anyone else in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's really bad.
Because Pat Mahomes said, ring, ring, ring. Hey, Tom.
Yeah.
Let me
How do
ask-
I do this?
Yeah, let me ask you a couple of questions.
Yeah. The fact that he's restructuring his contract this year tells me that he is dead serious about a three-peat.
Oh, without question.
Dead serious.
Without question.
And he's going to be first in the building, last out of the building every single day until he wins his third in a row.
And that, among so many other things, that kind of reminds me of the Tom Brady mentality.
Yes.
Not to the point of like Belichick. So, while the confetti's still falling on their Super Bowl victory, during his interview, Belichick is like, yeah, we're going to start working on, we're already thinking about next year.
Yeah.
Like,
You don't even have fun.
Enjoy the moment, man. Enjoy the moment. But Tom Brady, all throughout the offseason, and that's what it sounds like Pat Mahomes is going to be like, all right, we enjoyed the moment.
We're locked in.
Now we're locked in for next year kind
Yep.
of thing. And that kind of single-minded focus to go with the cannon for an arm, to go with the unbelievable desire to win is really reminds me of Brady.
Yeah. Probably the closest player to Brady that we have, at least in the modern NFL.
I would agree.
Definitely. All right. We're coming to the end of our episode. We're going to do some mini games, and then we're going to close it out. We're going to go back and forth. So I'm going to do one mini game, then
Okay.
you'll do one mini game, and then I'll do one mini game. That's how we'll do it.
Okay.
So we'll start with this. There have been 8 running backs that have ran for 2,000 yards and no receivers that have caught for 2,000 yards in NFL history, which is crazy that no receiver has ever caught for 2,000 yards, especially in a pass-happy league that we've had for the last 20 years or whatever it is. Can you name all 8 running backs that have ran for 2,000 yards?
All 8 running backs. Okay. All right, let's go through this. You cross them off as I name them. Let's say O.J. Simpson.
Okay.
Let's say Terrell Davis.
Okay. Yep.
Let's say, Eric Dickerson, obviously.
Yep.
Let's say Jamal Lewis.
Yep.
Is
You
that
got
his
it.
last
There you
name?
go, Lewis.
Okay. Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders.
Chris Johnson.
Yep.
How many did I get so far?
You're at 6.
I'm at 6 out of 8.
Yep.
Okay. I'm one more, and obviously, Adrian Peterson, duh.
Adrian Peterson.
And
You got this.
who else ran for 2,000 yards?
Who else?
Yeah.
I'll give you a little hint. He's the last one to do it.
The last one to do it. How recently?
Last few years. Come on, you got this.
Was it Derrick Henry?
It was Derrick Henry.
He ran for 2,000 yards?
Dude,
What?
I was looking at this the other day, and I forgot that he ran for 2,000 yards in a season. I believe it was the COVID season. And if I remember
my
correctly,
goodness.
I will look this up right now. He ran for 20 plus touchdowns that year, I believe.
How do I not remember this? Oh my
let
goodness.
let me just make sure. So the year he ran for 2,000 yards, he ran for 17 touchdowns, but still freaking massive season.
That's a touchdown a game. Oh my gosh.
I can't believe
how do I
that I forgot
How
that.
do I forget that? Oh my gosh.
You got it though, Derek. You got all 8.
Wow.
Oh
my gosh.
my gosh.
That's a great question, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna throw you two truths, and a lie.
So we're gonna do 2 truths and a lie, NFL edition.
NFL edition, correct. Okay, so you're first. Kansas City went an entire season without a wide receiver catching a touchdown pass.
In history, in a season in history.
In the last 10 years.
Okay.
Drew Brees has led the league in passing yards more years than Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, and Tom Brady combined.
Okay.
And the last one, Kareem Hunt has as many rushing titles as Walter Payton.
Oh my God. Okay. Give me the first one more time.
Okay. Kansas City Chiefs went an entire season without a wide receiver catching a touchdown pass.
In the last 10 years.
A full season, yes.
Oh my God. All right. Kansas City. So Tyreek Hill's been there for a while. He definitely caught a touchdown pass here and there. You said wide receiver.
Correct.
All right. And I think, damn, that's tough because Kareem Hunt and Walter Payton, that's really tough. I know number 2's a true statement because I know Drew Brees has thrown for 5,000 yards 4 or 5 times. I'm going to go with Kareem Hunt.
You would be incorrect.
Ah, damn it. So Kansas City went a whole season without throwing a touchdown pass to a wide receiver?
That is correct.
Oh my God. Which season?
2014. I'm sorry,
So
I said
Alex
within
Smith.
the last 10. Yep.
Alex Smith.
Dwayne Bowe was one of their wide receivers,
Oh my God. I
and
don't even know who
it
that
was
is.
right before they got
Probably right before they got Tariq.
well, that's 10 years ago. Tyreek hasn't been in the
True.
league quite
Tyreek
that
probably
long.
came into the league
Maybe
2017,
2 or 3 after that.
2018.
Yeah, I'm thinking. So Drew Brees, so the lie is Drew Brees has 7 years of leading the league in passing yards. Peyton Manning has 3. So Brady has 4. Manning has 3. Roethlisberger has 2. So they have 9 combined, and Drew Brees only has 7.
So that's the lie.
That's the lie.
Damn it! I thought I had that.
Yep.
Oh man.
And what's really bizarre, and I just found this out today, as much as I love Walter Payton, he won the rushing title exactly once.
And Kareem Hunt won it once
Once.
in his rookie year, I think.
Second year, maybe.
Second year, maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I will claim defeat.
Okay. So can I give you the one that I was going to throw you as a wild card? I know we're pressing up.
No,
on
we're good.
here,
We're good.
but,
We're good.
So you might have heard me talk about this guy. They called him Touchdown Darryl Turner, TD Darryl Turner. He
Okay.
was a Seahawks wide receiver back when Largent played. He only played 4 seasons with the Seahawks. He had 101 catches for his Seahawks career. 101 catches.
Total career catches.
Total career catches for 4 years. So he was in the ballpark of 30 or 25 every year.
Yep.
So out of 101 catches, he had 36 touchdowns. 1/3 of his catches for his career, more than 1/3 of his catches were for touchdowns. So
really,
let me throw a couple of these nuggets at you just real quick. So in 1984, he had 35 catches for 10 touchdowns. In 85, he had 34 catches for 13 touchdowns.
Oh my God.
Almost one every other catch.
Yeah.
13 touchdowns is a wide receiver 1 in any year.
Name another wide receiver that's caught over 13 touchdowns.
Right.
With fewer than like 60 catches.
That's what I'm saying. Most of them need 100 catches to do that.
That's crazy.
So his last 2 years, in 86, 18 catches and 7 touchdowns. So that's almost half.
Yeah.
And then in 87, he had 14 catches for 6 touchdowns. So 1/3 of his catches for his 4-year career with Seattle. And
I would not have guessed that was any. I don't know if I would have gotten that right or wrong. I'm not sure.
Well, that's the thing. I figured it didn't really
apply.
Yeah, it didn't really apply, because if I throw something weird out there like that, you got to know it's true. Because why would I ask you a question about Darryl Turner? You never heard of the guy.
True, exactly.
So anyway,
I like that though. That's really interesting.
Holy moly!
All right, my last trivia question. This is going to be fun. I had a fun time doing it myself.
All right.
I did not give in to looking this one up. I decided to. I looked it up eventually, I almost got it fully correct, but I had fun playing the game. There have been 9 players to pass for 5,000 yards. Name all of them.
9 of them.
Yep.
Dan Marino should be one of them.
Dan Marino is one of them.
Yep. Drew Brees would be the other 7. Let's see. So Dan Marino, Drew Brees, Jameis Winston.
Yep, that's a good one.
As we know.
That's a good one.
I'm going to throw Matt Stafford in there.
Matthew Stafford is on there.
Yeah. Let's see. 5,000. Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning is on there. So hold on. We got Dan Marino. You said Drew Brees. You said Jameis Winston. You said Matthew Stafford. You said Peyton Manning.
Correct.
That's 5.
I don't think Brady ever did it.
Yes, he did.
Brady did a 5,000.
He did a 5,000. Yep.
Holy moly.
So that's 6.
Okay. And I got 3 more.
Mm-hmm.
3 more at 5,000.
Well, one's got to be obvious.
Mahomes.
Yep. 2 more.
Justin Herbert.
That's a good one.
Yes,
there you
I
go.
remember that one.
That's a clutch one that you got to remember.
One more.
This one might be tricky.
Not so clearly not a recent guy.
Not a recent guy.
Ooh.
I wouldn't say recent, but I would say he's not in the league.
Oh, wow. 5,000 yards.
Think of some of the gunslingers over the last 20 years.
Well, it definitely wasn't Brett Favre.
Nope.
And definitely wasn't Aaron Rodgers.
Nope.
And it wasn't Steve Young, and it wasn't Montana.
All right, one last hint for you. He's not in the league anymore, but it is a recent 5,000 yard season. Fairly recent.
Oh, I'm gonna have to give up on this one.
Roethlisberger.
Oh man, I didn't remember that he threw for 5K.
No, that one's a tough one because he did it in 2018.
Oh man, and I can't even blame COVID on that.
No, you cannot. So let's reiterate: we got Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Patrick Mahomes, Dan Marino, Justin Herbert, Jameis Winston, Ben Roethlisberger, and who the hell was the last one?
Did you say Stafford?
Yeah, and Stafford.
Okay.
And Stafford. So those were the 9 guys. You were off by 2 because you didn't get Brady. You thought Brady was not one of them.
So did you know that Brady?
Dude, I'm pretty sure Brady threw for 5,000 yards the year he threw up freaking 50 touchdowns or whatever.
I don't remember, but I looked up another interesting fact about Tom Brady. He led the league in passing in his 20s, in his 30s, and his 40s.
Damn.
Yeah, you want to talk about longevity right there.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty damn cool.
Holy crap.
Yep.
All right. That is it for us. We're going to wrap this episode
That's a wrap.
up. This was a fun one. I had fun. Did you have fun?
I had fun, man. I don't want to bore you guys with stats, but when you break some of the stuff down, stats really kind of are very interesting, especially
so
when
fun.
you're trying to compare different eras and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So that's the end of this episode. We'll see you next time on the Read Option Podcast.
Read Option Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Read Option Podcast, hosted by Tommy Touchdowns and Razorback Jack, produced by me, Tommy Touchdowns. Remember to follow us on all our socials, including Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube at the Read Option Pod.